Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about health experts. These people have been advising us and talking about a lot of stuff in the news lately, which started to become more prevalent during this health scare that happened for the last couple of months. It's still ongoing in the background. And in addition, we've had another series of big, high profile events happening in our country too, mostly involving demonstrations, protests, and other things turning into bad scenarios, going into riots, looting, and other bad things. But there's still other demonstrations going on too. Some are peaceful, some are not. Most of them are causing a little bit of chaos wherever they go. They're usually blocking the streets and doing bad things, leaving lots of trash behind at the least. But regardless, people do have a right to protest in this country. We all know we have the amendments for a reason. So as long as they are staying peaceful and not hurting anyone or destroying anything like what's happened sometimes, well, if that's the case, that's okay. But the problem with today is, and back to the health experts thing, we're going to be talking about how they've been rather contradictory and a little bit troubling with the way they've advised us over these last few months. Because first, the health experts said things like, oh, you can't wear masks. Don't wear a mask. It's not worth your time. It actually could make things worse. And then just a few weeks later, it was like strictly, oh, you have to wear masks. Masks are required now. If you don't wear a mask, you're a jerk. And then the next step along this path I saw was there was other demonstrations a few weeks ago. There were these anti-lockdown protests. People wanted to get back to work, to end all these closings and open up stores and shops again. And that was actually a very peaceful protest. No one was hurt. Nothing was broke or stolen that I've heard of. I'm sure there might have been a few outliers, but for the most part, that stuff was totally peaceful. But then the experts said no. They said they were endangering everyone's lives by being out there. They also said you might kill your grandparents if you protest too long. Like, they were really hard upon those demonstrations. And then we had another flip. Now we're into the post-Minneapolis era. We're seeing all these riots come out because of the chaos and the bad things that happened in that city. And now these same health experts are saying it's okay to go to protest. They're saying you can go to these demonstrations, and even in the same breath, sometimes they tell you to stay home. They're like, oh, we're still doing lockdowns, but if you're going to protest, that's okay. And that just is so insane to me. It's like, how can these people be taken seriously? I mean, come on. They're like literally being insulting. This is insulting. They're like insulting our intelligence, saying this and then that at the same time in the same breath. And you're just like, dude, why are you lying to us? Like, why is this okay when this wasn't okay? Like, why were those nurses in the streets like trying to stop the lockdown protesters a few weeks ago? And then now they're clapping for the BLM protesters. They're clapping and they're out there cheering them on. I mean, this kind of dichotomy, this kind of double standard, it's just infuriating. And everyone that notices this, if you're seeing it out there, you should be really agitated too, because they're insulting our intelligence. They're trying to act like we're too stupid to notice how hypocritical they are. It's super messed up. These health experts, so-called health experts, like, I'm sure a lot of them are great doctors and know a lot about science and the background about this issue, but at the same time, they're also making it political. Like, that's the case. That's certain here. So you got to kind of read between the lines. You got to make your own decisions, talk to a lot of doctors, read a lot of information, decide what's right for you and your family. And that's the greater point of today. But before we get too far into that, let's jump into a few examples, a few things I found on Twitter. This first one, it comes from iHypocrite, and it's a pretty interesting picture if you just kind of read through it and think about what they're saying. It says, health experts support anti-police protest. As public health advocates, we do not condemn these gatherings as risky for COVID transmission. This should not be confused with a permissive stance on all gatherings, particularly protest against stay-at-home orders. So this is a quote, and this is pretty much what I talked about in the intro. So they're saying the two different things, and I don't get it. Like, I don't see how they think this makes sense. It says first, you can condemn. I can't even get my head around this. Okay, it says they don't condemn these protests, the pro-BLM, the pro-Minneapolis, and anti-police protests. Those are okay, but it's not okay if you're protesting stay-at-home orders. So either stay at home, don't protest stay at home, or you could go to these pro-BLM protests. I mean, it makes no sense. It's like totally contradictory and very insulting. Like you said, like I'm not trying to be defensive. I'm not like a weak or a shallow person. Like, you guys know that. I get a lot of hate, a lot of haters out there. But man, this is ultimate. This is like insane levels of hypocriticalism, and then it gets even worse. We've got more examples. Here's the next picture. It says, this is on another channel, another news network. It says updated stay-at-home order, social outdoor gatherings of up to 12 people, protest of up to 100 people. So what? 12 people if you're having a party, 100 people if you're protesting. I don't get it. Like, what is the difference? Why are these protests immune to the virus? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Are they saying something like, where's the science behind this? I thought these guys were like health experts, where's the science? Like, I don't see any situation where more people is okay because they're protesting the preferred liberal issue. I mean, they even said they won't allow you to go to these other protests straight up, but then you can go to these protests for BLM and all this Minneapolis stuff. It's insane. It doesn't make any sense. And them just throwing this in our faces on the news, on the channels, in this stuff, it's like they're trying to almost imply this virus doesn't transmit at these gatherings. If they're pro-liberal, they don't transmit, but then if they're anti-liberal or anti-lockdown or something else they don't like, it's all of a sudden the end of the world. And the other thing this reminds me of, I think we're going to get to this more in another video, the specific holiday that they're going against now, and it's coming up, is 4th of July. And this is related too, because they'll let us protest. There's people protesting right now. They're encouraging it, and they're saying, go to this big event, go to this big event. We've seen like Philadelphia have like thousands of people going down the street in different videos, but they're still canceling 4th of July. And that's like weeks away. We still have like 3 or 4 weeks to prepare and get things ready and make sure it's safe and all that stuff. But they don't like 4th of July because it's our holiday. It's America's birthday. And that's kind of reflected in something like this. Now, I'm not sure where this county is and what area. It might not even be the United States at this point, but still, it matters. And it's like they're saying, oh, we can't have things that liberals don't like, and then liberals do like, they'll allow it. It's a very political thing. That's the biggest point. It's super political. And then here is the next tweet, another kind of headline from the news. This one's from Sean, friend of the show. It says, health experts say you should still close your business and stay indoors unless it's to protest. So if it's protesting, if you're getting in on a pro-liberal cause, if you're hating on the police, supporting minorities, promoting this kind of crime and violence in the streets, looting, if you're on board with that, oh, you could go out. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, have some fun. Go knock yourself out. Go crazy. But if you decide to protest the lockdowns, which aren't even lockdowns anymore because everyone can go out, all you have to do is say you're a pro-BLM. If you say Black Lives Matter, you could just go outside and do whatever you want. I mean, shit, you could walk into Target and just grab stuff. You could just take your stuff, whatever you want. But yeah, if you're not all along with liberal causes, then you can't do what you want. You have to go along with them. And this makes no sense. It's just totally outrageous. Lastly, we have some examples. I just did a little search here on Twitter to give you some of these top tweets, because I think the whole health expert thing is kind of being debunked now. I think that's the whole point. Like, we tried to listen before and we wanted to give them a chance. We're like, okay, they're health experts. We're not like anti-science. But after all this stuff, I mean, you can't even take them seriously. Here, Ashley says, so basically the health experts have come to the scientific conclusion that the spread of the virus is inversely proportionate to the virtue of your cause. Yeah, that's a pretty succinct way of saying what I was going over. If you're pro-liberal, you're not going to spread the virus, but anything they don't like, they'll put that virus excuse on and try and shut it down. That's what they're really doing. They're trying to shut down stuff they don't like by, pretending the virus is a reason. So after insisting on a total lockdown for months, public health experts now tell us that protesting in massive crowds, standing shoulder to shoulder with thousands of people is the right thing to do. That's sure some virus. Yeah, I mean, they locked down the country for months, man. We were all stuck at home. Every store was closed. That was what they wanted to keep doing too. Like, if this issue hadn't popped up, we would still be in the middle of that, because we know how hardcore the left was about lockdowns. They were saying if we didn't lock down for the rest of the year, they thought we were going to get into total trouble. And now it's like, oh, there's a protest, something happened in Minneapolis. Let's blow that out and just go out all day. So health experts announced their science has been suspended to accommodate rioting and protesting. For For everyone else, their science still applies. Stay home and destroy your business and livelihoods to save lives. Yeah, this is that same image again, unless it's to protest. They're always mentioning these health experts, and I think that's the funniest part about it is the term health expert is just lost right now. It's like a lot of terms the leftists will like ruin and misuse, and right now clearly we're not seeing health experts. I mean, maybe they are, but they're not nearly as scientific or honest as they should be. They're definitely going along with liberals and kind of being biased. They're getting cherry picked. Real Donald Trump likely never believed there should have been shutdown directives. Sweden didn't shut down and their healthcare system was not overrun, but this time Trump listened to the experts. He should have listened to himself. It's better when Trump is Trump. That could be a good point. In hindsight, I could see that making a lot of sense. I definitely was more keen on the shutdowns in the beginning. I could understand them at certain points, and I can see why Trump went with it too. Like, he had a lot of experts yelling in his ear. He also had a lot of pressure. Might as well shut down to be safe. But at the same time, we're looking around and now, Sweden is getting more support than we thought. Like, I actually made a video coming against Sweden saying they should have shut down. And a lot of people had backlash from that. Like, a lot of you guys spoke out, and I hear it. I mean, I hear you guys. And I think a lot of us are realizing over time, we're getting this more information and we're seeing that this was like a political shutdown, and it was more designed to hurt our country and ruin the economy and get people kind of upset and on edge. And that's all leading up to this election. We got November coming up here in a few months, and keep that in mind. The election season, this is all part of that. The politicians are making plans. Joe Biden is in bed with all these liberal reporters, and there's a bigger scheme going on. This guy tweets, they say, health experts say anti-police rallies okay, other gatherings not okay. Yeah, specifically, I mean, that's the image we saw before. We could tell there's a big hypocrisy here. Here are the nurses. The lockdown has always been political. Public health workers have signed an open letter supporting the BLM protesters, arguing that they must not be treated in the same way as white protesters opposed to lockdown. What hypocrisy, says Michael Cook. Yeah, I mean, what is that? I mean, I don't get it. Like, I think they're just basically coming out and saying, hey, we're going to treat white people different. We don't like white people. We don't like you guys and what you stand for. And we're going to just blatantly be hypocritical. Like, there's not even an attempt to kind of explain this. Like, I haven't seen any justification. Like, I don't know what you could even say. So I think they're just overlooking it. But I mean, it would at least, could they lie to us? You know what I mean? Like, could you be kind enough to try and make some kind of health claim up? Like, oh yeah, these protests are safe. They're doing masks and stuff. Like, let's give them proper procedures now. Like, give us something. But that's just the thing of it. That's the thing that makes it so bad. It's just like so hardcore. Like, they're so blatant about their hypocrisy. It's very, very troubling. The timing of a national lockdown versus massive open protests week later, encouraged by public health experts who claimed violating lockdown orders mean you wanted to murder grandma, could have not been scripted more effectively. Simulation. Kind of hinting that we're in some kind of simulation. And yeah, it's like the part I said, they're talking about murdering your grandma. Like, they went that far when they had these anti-lockdown things, but now they're protesting things for them, and it's turned into a whole mess. Obviously, there's something going on here. Obviously, the political things have taken over these health experts who are against certain things. Like, they don't like when you protest lockdowns. They don't want us to celebrate 4th of July in a couple weeks or do anything kind of fun or we want to do. And then at the same time, you're allowed to go to BLM protests. You got to support the liberal causes. The virus isn't a big deal anymore. And it just goes to show it never was. It never was about that. The lockdown was political. This is all theater. And now it's getting exposed as it should be. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also hit that like button to help get this video shared. And until next time, you guys have a great day.